The text came on a Monday morning, April 11th, 2022, at exactly 10:14 a.m. I remember the time because I had just taken a sip of cold coffee, staring at my laptop screen for the 100th time that week. I was sitting in my small, cramped campus apartment near the University of Michigan, reviewing my dissertation one final time before my PhD defense, which was scheduled for the next morning. 9 years of research. 9 years of my life dedicated to understanding how floating solar farms could revolutionize energy access for island nations in Southeast Asia. 9 years of grant rejections, data that made no sense, equipment failures in the field, and a quiet, stubborn voice inside me that refused to give up. And then, finally, success. My results were replicable. My models were sound. I was ready. My phone buzzed against the wooden desk. I smiled, wiping a smudge of dust off the screen. I thought it was my older brother, Marcus, texting to wish me luck. Maybe a last-minute confirmation of his flight details for my graduation ceremony on Sunday. Instead, I read these words, "Maya, your father and I have decided not to come to your graduation. We need to be honest with you. We think you've wasted nearly a decade of your life on something that will never pay off. Your cousin, Jessica, just got promoted to regional manager at her bank. That's a real career. We're saving our travel money for her wedding next month. Hope you understand. Before you judge my parents too harshly, let me pause here. If you are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Dr. Maya Chin, and this is The Uncommon Path. On this channel, we talk about the moments that break us and the choices that rebuild us. If you believe that success isn't always a straight line and that family doesn't always get it right, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. Join a community of people who are building their own tables instead of waiting for an invitation to someone else's. Welcome. Now, let me tell you the rest of the story. I stared at that text for what felt like an hour. My vision blurred. Then another message arrived. Also, we had dinner with the Parkers last night. They asked what you were doing. It's getting embarrassing explaining that you're still a student at 32. Jessica is only 28 and she manages 12 people. I set the phone down carefully, like it was a live wire. My hands were shaking. 9 years. I had spent 9 years on this degree while working as a teaching assistant, scraping by on a stipend of $22,000 a year. I lived in a basement apartment with a leaky ceiling and a landlord who never fixed the heat. And through all of it, I had kept my family updated. I sent them copies of my published papers. I explained my research trips to the Philippines and Indonesia. They never once asked a follow-up question. My cousin Jessica had graduated from a state school 6 years ago and immediately started working at a credit union. She was good at her job, I don't deny that. But in my family's eyes, she was the sun, and I was a distant, confusing moon. I called my dad. He answered on the third ring. "Hi, sweetheart. Did you get our message?" "Dad, my graduation is in 6 days. You're really not coming." He sighed, and I could hear my mother whispering in the background. "Maya, we explained this. Your mother has a quilting retreat that weekend. And, honestly, we've been to your college graduation. How many ceremonies does one person need? This is a PhD, Dad. It's different. It's more school," he interrupted. "Honey, we love you, but we're worried sick. You're 32 years old. No 401k, no house, no partner. Jessica just bought a new SUV. What are you even doing with your life?" "I'm about to defend my dissertation," I said, my voice cracking. "I'm about to become Dr. Maya Chin." "And then what?" he asked. "Who hires someone who studied floating solar panels on the other side of the world?" I closed my eyes. "Dad, I have a postdoc position lined up at the National Renewable Energy Lab in Colorado." "Maya, that's not a real job. That's an internship for adults." Jessica's bonus this year was $20,000. It always came back to Jessica. "I have to go," I said. "My defense is tomorrow." "Good luck, honey. We do love you. We just want you to be practical." He hung up. I sat there in my silent apartment, staring at my dissertation. Harnessing monsoon winds, floating photovoltaic systems for the archipelagos of Southeast Asia. 412 pages. 5 years of field research across 3 countries. 2 major journal publications. Worthless, according to my father. The defense the next day was a blur of clarity and exhaustion. My committee asked sharp questions. I gave sharper answers. Dr. Elena Vasquez, my advisor, told me afterward that it was the most rigorous defense she had witnessed in 15 years. You should be so proud, Maya, she said, gripping my shoulder. This work is going to change how we think about renewable energy in climate-vulnerable regions. Thank you, I whispered, trying to force a smile. She studied my face. Your family isn't coming to graduation, are they? I shook my head. Then I'll be there, she said gently. And I will cheer loud enough for 10 people. Sunday arrived. April 17, 2022. Graduation day. I put on my doctoral robes alone in my apartment. The heavy black gown, the velvet tam, the purple and silver hood. I looked at myself in the mirror. Dr. Maya Chin. I had done it. Despite every dismissive text, every comparison, every silent dinner table, I had done it. The ceremony was at 3 p.m. in the university's basketball arena. Hundreds of graduates, thousands of family members. I sat in the doctoral section. Around me, people were pointing at the stands. There's my mom. My grandparents flew in from Texas. I looked up at the sea of faces. I saw no one I knew. Dr. Vasquez was sitting with the faculty, but that was it. When they called my name, Maya Lin Chin, Doctor of Philosophy and Environmental Engineering, I walked across the stage to polite, generic applause. No one screamed. No one held up a sign. No one took a photo. I shook the dean's hand, received my fake leather diploma cover, and walked off the other side. 9 years. 45 seconds of walking. Afterward, I stood outside the arena watching the celebrations. Balloons, flowers, grandparents hugging grandchildren, dads wiping away tears. I got into my 10-year-old Toyota Corolla and drove back to my basement apartment. That night, I ate instant ramen and updated my LinkedIn profile. Dr. Maya Chin. My dad texted at 9 p.m. Did it go okay? Not congratulations. Not we're proud. Just, did it go okay? I typed back, yes. He replied, good. Talk soon. Over the next 3 weeks, I packed my entire life into 7 suitcases and drove west to Colorado for my postdoc. Dr. Vasquez had connected me with a brilliant engineer named Dr. Marcus Webb, who was running a cutting-edge lab focused on disaster-resilient energy systems. The work was exactly what I wanted: practical, urgent, hands-on. I was building small-scale floating solar rigs that could be deployed by drones to provide emergency power after typhoons or tsunamis. My parents called once during those first 3 months to tell me that Jessica had been promoted again. She's really going places, my mom said. She's making smart moves. That's great, I said. How's your weather project going? It's going well, I said. We just got approval for a field test in the Baton's Islands in the Philippines. The Philippines? My dad's voice was skeptical. Why there? Because they get hit by an average of 20 typhoons a year. My rigs could restore power to hospitals within hours of a storm. Silence. Then my dad, well, that's very noble, honey. Jessica's bank just opened a new branch. She's going to manage it. I stopped telling them about my work after that. 8 months into my postdoc, something unexpected happened. I had been quietly consulting for a small disaster relief startup called Current Hope. They were trying to build cheap, rapid deployment solar for disaster zones, but they were failing. Great engineers, terrible logistics. The founder, a woman named Priya Krishnamurti, called me in December. Maya, we're dying. We have maybe 60 days of cash left. But your floating rig design, it's exactly what we need. If we could figure out how to mass produce it for under $500 a unit. I'm a scientist, not a business owner, I said. You're a problem solver, she said. That's all a business is. I thought about it for a month. I thought about my empty graduation. I thought about the text messages. I thought about the village in the Philippines I had visited, where a mother had told me her child died because the hospital lost power during a storm. I quit my postdoc. Priya and I became co-founders. We named the company Monsoon Energy. The first year was brutal. We worked out of Priya's garage in Denver. We maxed out our credit cards. My parents found out through Facebook. My mom called, hysterical. You left a real job? For a garage startup? What is wrong with you? I'm trying to save lives, Mom. You're trying to be homeless, she said. Jessica just bought a house. A whole house. I didn't go home for Christmas that year. Or the next. 22 months later, we had our breakthrough. We landed a contract with the United Nations Development Program. Our rigs were deployed to Vanuatu after a Category 5 cyclone. They worked. They restored power to 3 remote islands within 48 hours. The photos went viral on LinkedIn. A reporter from the Wall Street Journal wrote a profile of me. The headline was, "The Unlikely Entrepreneur." How a dismissed PhD built a lifeline for climate refugees. My parents didn't call. But my cousin Jessica did. Hey, Maya, she said, her voice strange. I saw the article. Oh. Hi, Jessica. You're kind of a big deal, huh? I'm just trying to help people. She was quiet for a second. Mom and Dad are confused. They don't know how to talk about you now. They never did, I said. Well, she said, for what it's worth, I think it's cool. I just manage a bank. You're like a superhero. I almost laughed. Thanks, Jessica. That means more than you know. The turning point came 2 years later. I was 34. Monsoon Energy had deployed rigs in 12 countries. We had a team of 60 people. And then, my phone buzzed with an email from my mother. She was coming to Denver. Alone. I'd like to see your office, she wrote. If that's okay. She arrived on a gray October morning. I picked her up at the airport. She looked smaller than I remembered. Older. We hugged awkwardly. In the car, she stared out the window. It's very brown here, she said. It's the high desert, Mom. I took her to our warehouse. We had 30 rigs lined up, ready to ship to Fiji. I showed her how they worked. The solar panels, the flotation system, the battery storage. She touched one of the panels like it was a museum artifact. You built this. My team built it. But the design was mine. She was quiet for a long time. Then she started to cry. Not a dramatic sob. A quiet, leaking grief. I didn't understand. She whispered. I didn't want to understand. It was easier to be proud of Jessica. She was safe. She was understandable. You were a question I didn't know how to answer. I was your daughter, Mom. I know, she said. I know. And I'm so sorry. I didn't forgive her right there. The hurt was too deep, too layered. But I didn't turn away either. Do you want to see the control room? I asked. She nodded, wiping her eyes. That night, I drove her back to the airport. Before she got out of the car, she handed me a small box. Inside was my PhD graduation tassel. The one I had thrown in a drawer and forgotten. I found it in your old room, she said. I should have been there, Maya. I should have screamed your name. Yeah, I said. You should have. She nodded. I'm going to try to do better. Then she walked into the terminal. We didn't fix everything. But we started talking. Real talking. She stopped mentioning Jessica's salary. She started asking about my work. And when Monsoon Energy hit its biggest milestone, powering our 100th disaster zone, restoring electricity to over 200,000 people after a super typhoon in the Philippines, she texted me something different. Not a comparison. Not a dismissal. Just, I saw the news. I am so proud of the person you have become. Not what you achieved. Who you are. I saved that text. I still have it. The family dinner came later. 18 months after her visit to Denver. She asked if I would come home for the holidays. I said yes, but only if we didn't talk about work as a competition. No comparing, I said. No, Jessica did this, Maya did that. Just family. She agreed. The dinner was at my parents' house. Jessica was there with her husband and their new baby. Marcus, my older brother, flew in from Chicago. For the first hour, it was stiff. Polite. Everyone walking on eggshells. Then my dad, who had barely spoken to me in years, cleared his throat. Maya, he said. I saw a video of your rigs in the Philippines. On the news. Okay, I said carefully. The reporter said you saved a hospital. The rigs saved the hospital. I just designed them. He shook his head. I told you it was useless. Your research. I told you that you were wasting your life. The table went silent. Dad, let me finish, he said, and his voice cracked. I was wrong. I was wrong about everything. I don't know how to be proud of something I don't understand. And I didn't understand you. So instead of trying, I just dismissed you. He looked down at his hands. That was cruel. And I am sorry. Jessica reached over and squeezed my hand. Marcus nodded at me. I looked at my father. This man who had measured success in square footage and salary brackets. He was crying. Dad, I said. I didn't do this to prove you wrong. I know, he said. That's what makes it worse. You did it because it mattered. And I couldn't see that. I stood up and walked around the table. I hugged him. It was an awkward, stiff hug, but it was real. You're here now, I said. That's a start. That night, after dinner, I went up to my old bedroom. My mother had hung my PhD diploma on the wall, right next to a framed copy of the Wall Street Journal article. Underneath it, she had written on a sticky note, "The day I finally started listening." I thought about that lonely graduation day, the empty stands, the silent drive home, the instant ramen. It had hurt so much, but it had also given me a gift. It taught me that external validation is a trap. My worth was never going to come from my parents' approval, or my cousin's job title, or a salary number. My worth came from the work itself. From the hospital in the Philippines that stayed lit during the storm. From the family in Vanuatu who could charge their phones after the waves receded. From the child who could do homework by light instead of candlelight, because someone decided that impractical research was actually the most practical thing in the world. I walked across that stage alone. But I built my company with a team. I healed my family with patience. And I learned that the people who matter most aren't always the ones who show up first. Sometimes, they're the ones who are willing to learn how to show up at all. If you are in the middle of a path that your family doesn't understand, if you are the Maya at your own dinner table, let me tell you this. Keep going. Your work is not useless. Your research is not a waste. Your unconventional choices are not embarrassing. They are the foundation of the life only you can build. And one day, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but one day, they will see it. Or they won't. But either way, you will have built something real. And that is its own reward. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Uncommon Path. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. There are so many more stories of resilience, failure, and unexpected triumph to come. And if you have your own story of being dismissed by the people you love, drop it in the comments. You are not alone. I'm Dr. Maya Chin. Stay stubborn. Stay kind. And I will see you in the next video.